I heard or read somewhere that your father was like really the first person to merch, or just was like a genius at merching out and licensing.
He was. It's funny because I've seen like the culture kind of change around that. Where in the 90s when I was a young guy, he got a lot of flack for like selling out.
Right.
And now nobody gives a fuck about that.
You want to support your favorite
Granted,
bands.
he takes it to extreme. That's a birdhouse. I mean, this is it's a little bit much. Do you know his famous, he's not here to say the thing he says every time, so I'll say it. Do you know his little quote about his merch?
No.
Okay, I'm going to go to therapy again. But this is, he says this every time. He says, we have Kiss condoms and Kiss caskets. We'll get you coming, we'll get you going. And then
that's so good.
I go like this. I go like this.
Yeah.
And I take a deep breath.
Yeah.
And I go, that's your dad.
Yeah. Is it more that, like your dad is known for being a cocksman?
I mean, he cultivated that on purpose. Like his whole thing is like Revenge of the Nerds. Like that's the best. He was an immigrant, right?
Made.
It was like he didn't speak English well, and he moved to New York at like 10 from Israel, and then and I think Paul's story is kind of the same. It was like they were kind of like these Jewish kids in New York, and they weren't like necessarily that cool. And then the band worked out, so that's him in drag. He played a drag queen in a movie once. He played in a movie called Never Too Young to Die.
I love it.
Which is great.
And like really at a time where, I mean, yeah, David Bowie wore makeup and everything, but this was so unique.
It's funny because he's such a dad too about that. He's like, oh, men shouldn't look like that. I'm like, dude, you look like that. Like you did it.
So he's very macho.
He's such a paradox because he's like kind of a square, and yet his image is kind of this sort of like 80s hedonist guy. So it's like he's both things at once, and I just think that most of it is a character. He's actually kind of just like a nerdy guy.
But don't you think maybe that's why he can play? I'm sorry, why he can be nerdy at home is because he plays out these fantasies on the public stage.
Yeah,
you know?
I think he always wanted to live in a fantasy world. He looked up to all these guys, and then it actually worked out. So people were yes-anding him for 40 years. So. Tom was talking about this when we met backstage. He was like, yeah, if you're that famous from like 22, you can't be like a normal person.
No.
That's insane. Oh, go back up. Hold on. Look, there's a baby picture of me on the right, top right. There.
Oh my
Look at that one.
God.
Look at my t-shirt.
Oh my God.
My t-shirt says my daddy. That's my favorite photo.
Fuck, how surreal.
Yeah.
I mean, for you, it's normal, right? Like you look at that.
I was pretty sheltered up until a certain age. I didn't like go on tour with. I'm going on tour with them this week because it's their last go. Oh. So it's like a bonding experience. So I jump on with them a few times this year, but I didn't do that as a kid.
Never.
Like I was in school. I didn't miss school ever.
Yeah.
So they were like very adamant that I don't be weird in Hollywood too early.
Yeah.
So I didn't really get it until like late teens, early 20s, I think, when the show kicked in.
So that's a really interesting. So how did they keep you? Because
I just went to school and like played with other kids on the weekends.
Okay.
Yeah, just so like they didn't overthink it. They were just like, let's not take him to, I will say we did go to the Playa Mansion a lot. But
what?
But there's like they didn't know there was like family friendly events like 4th of July
what I've heard.
And Easter where like everyone brought their kids and they did Easter egg hunts and there's
so
no
it was,
like nudity.
Wholesome.
Yeah, there was no like people running around naked. They were just like
so funny.
It was just a big house with God, fuck me.
That's so funny.
That's where my parents met there. That's where my mom was Playmate of the Year in like 86 or something, and she was dating Hef at the time, and then Dad was dating Diana Ross at the time, and they met on the front lawn at the Midsummer Night's Dream party, and I go to therapy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it is surreal. It's a wild life to hear you say that.
Well, that's George.
So, oh my God, your mom's obviously gorgeous.
That's nice.
So, okay, yes, because growing up in LA too, by the time I was 13, I was like smoking cigarettes and in the nightclubs because my parents were not paying attention, but somebody was paying attention. It sounds like mom was.
Oh no, they were pretty. I didn't have a fake ID. I waited till I was 21 to ever have a sip. Yeah. I didn't really, partake at all.
No.
I never really smoked. I'm not, my dad's totally sober his whole life.
Yes.
I won't claim that. I probably won't say more because he'll get mad at me, but.
Does he expect you to be straight edge?
Like, yes. Yes. And I've told him this, or there's no secrets. This is not a secret, but he will block it out. Like he won't.
Yeah.
I'll go like, yeah, when it became legal, I tried weed. And he's like, that didn't happen. And he just kind of forgets. And mom was like, don't try coke. It's overrated. And she's like, she just tells me like, yeah, I did LSD. It was kind of scary. Don't do that. Weed's all right. And she would just give me the rundown.
And that worked for you?
They just didn't talk to me like a kid. They kind of just were like, they talked to me like a person most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, the old man, he did this thing with me even at a young age where he was like making me a deal with me. It's like everything, like he can't not be a business guy.
That's hilarious.
So he goes like, I'll make you a deal. If you do your best at school, you get good grades and you show up and you don't do drugs, you can stay out as late as you want. Is that a deal? And he would like shake my hand. And I was like 8, and I'd be like, I don't know what contracts are, but okay, sure. And that kind of worked because it felt like I was a contrarian. I was like, if you tell me to do something, I want to do the opposite.
So the deal, this
was
is a
like,
good strategy.
I was participating. I was like, cool, I agree. And like I was,
ooh,
and really I had no choice, but
That's
it was a good trick.
Dang, that's such a good.
But the deal was too good. And he was also like, his threats were real. Like if I fucked up, he'd take it all away. So it was like
he'd follow through.
Speak softly, carry a big stick kind of thing.
So when you fucked up, what would he take away from you?
I mean, it would just we'd ground it and stuff. But he's such a scary voiced dude. So like to a little kid, he seems gigantic and invincible when you're a kid. Now I'm bigger than him, but he was like he would do this thing with an apple. I don't know if so like he would never hit us, but he would say that. So he'd be like, I would never hit you. He would like, I would never lay hands on you. So he put an apple on the table and he would smash it with his bare hand and it would explode.
Whoa.
And to me, that's like a feat of strength that is impossible to fathom as a little kid. So I was like, and he goes, that's the head of someone who ever hurt you and whatever. And like that, or he would be like, that's what you make me do, but I would never do it to you. So I'm going to do it to this. And I would go, cool, I'm straight edge forever now. That's cool. I'm done forever.
That's wild. But you seem very...
I'm not straight edge. But it's like he gave me a within reason kind of...
Yeah, he showed you.
Don't be a wastoid, basically.
And he showed you who's boss, which is the role of dad, is to show you.
If I didn't like really fuck up, that kind of tone of voice would never appear. He was super affectionate all the time, very huggy and stuff. He was a really good dad. He was like a, questionable husband, but a good dad. Like really good.
You can't, Liz, but you can't be all things to all people. You can't do it all. It doesn't work.
There's a whole odyssey. We kind of went into it with Drew, but I'll go into it again if you want. I mean, he was philandering for like a bit there, and it seems like the only ones who didn't know were me and mom and Soph.
Wow.
Like he's such a good dad, and when he's home, he is present. Like he's totally present, and it's clear the affection is real.
Yeah.
So when we found out there was like groupie situation, we were like, everybody else thinks this is like duh. Like look at the way he presents himself, and we thought it was the character. Like he's going to work, he's got to do this to sell merch, and we're like, oh, so he's actually partaking once in a while. And I think the thing that kept mom around after the whole thing is like he didn't have other relationships. He was just getting his ego boost. And so not that it was okay with her by any means. She was not stoked, but and then she did this thing which is like she's the toughest biatch in the world. Like she when it came out, she decided to let the show film it. Like let the show film like their marriage maybe not going, sorry, their relationship at that point, not marriage, maybe not continuing. And she was like, I'd rather we film it than TMZ get the scoop. I'd rather be in charge of the scoop. So she just like, let's do it. Film, roll the tape.
Wow.
We'll see what happens. And people think it was fake. People think we faked the whole drama. And I was like, it's the one thing we fucking didn't.
I know.
Did you like that highlight? I mean, how much fun was that? Why don't you watch a bunch more? We made a bunch more for you to watch. And then why don't you subscribe to my show? Subscribe to Where My Mom's At. That way, every time I drop an episode, you just get it. You don't have to think about it. And then hit the notification bell so you can get notified of all the great stuff that I make. Watch other highlight. Treat yourself. Get your life right.